Crusader Kings III is a massive game which already will demand dozens of hours of your time, and which is much more expansive than Crusader Kings II was at its launch back in 2012. But in 2020, Crusader Kings II is an extremely fleshed out game with so much flavor you can hardly get around to experience it all in a few thousand hours, so there's bound to be aspects where Crusader Kings III falls short. Hey there friends, my name is Andy, and here are my picks for the top 5 things Crusader Kings II does better than Crusader Kings III. The first aspect is related to the UI. No, I'm not saying Crusader Kings II has an overall better UI than Crusader Kings III, it doesn't, but there are aspects where Crusader Kings II does a better job. For example, the UI in Crusader Kings II changes visually based on the culture you are playing as. Playing as a Viking will turn your menus into wood and brown style, and Muslims will have a more green looking interface as opposed to the stone-like UI of Catholic kings. I love this aspect because it's so immersive and a simple way to visually tell the player that they're now in a different cultural environment. Don't get me wrong, the slick black UI is beautiful in its own right, but it's just not as immersive as the old one. I mean, just look at Crusader Kings II's approach to the Crusade window compared to the one in Crusader Kings III, and just how much prettier and more flavorful CK2's is. Additionally, even though the menus in Crusader Kings II were small and often too crowded, they were in my opinion more easily placed around the screen, with the bulk of the menus locked to either the top left corner. For example, if you open the Religion tab in CK3, you won't be able to directly open the Cultural tab, the Dynasty tab, nor your Characters tab from the bottom left screen anymore. Opening your player window will allow you to enter the other tabs even though it physically overshadows them by clicking on your dynastic shield or your personal faith or culture, or by clicking on the icons in the top right of the screen where it displays your monthly income of the different resources, but somehow doing so does not feel as intuitive as opening the tabs themselves. In CK2, this problem never really existed, with everything being easily accessible in the top left corner and menus selectable beside one another. Moving on to number 2, we have approach to sound design. Music is such a major reason as to why I still play and love Crusader Kings II as much as I do. Andreas Valdotoft has created a soundtrack which truly encapsulates the era, with truly epic tracks reminiscent of the music in Kingdom of Heaven, and softer, more calm songs for when you're just developing your realm, entering royal marriages, or plotting murders. What's sad to me is that Crusader Kings II has moved away from this classic sound design. The music is often good, often even inspired by the last game, but the real music only really plays during events. Otherwise, the music is much more ambient and in the background. Here's an example of a peacetime track in Crusader Kings II. And here is one for wartime. Here is an example of a track from Crusader Kings III. And one event song. The contrast is stark, and even though the event song is great, it's fairly short and only occurs here and there. This comes down to sound design, which is supposed to be more contextual in CK3. This means that the music is technically not supposed to overshadow most other things, like it could be argued it would in CK2. Instead, the music plays second violin here, with the sounds of towns and cities, ringing church bells, and other ambient noise taking center stage. While it undoubtedly sounds good to hear the noise of cities, I would argue that overall, CK2's sound design was really good and better than in CK3. The music from 1 is used in a much better way, but in CK2, opening individual windows, people dying from a plot, or a child being born all had unique sounds which would play when occurring. It's strange that this has not made the transition to CK3, a game which supposedly is all about contextual sound. Hopefully this can be changed by Paradox itself or with mods in the future. Number 3 is availability of map modes. Both Crusader Kings II and Europa Universalis 4 let us choose from a myriad of map modes whenever we please, and that's a big deal to me. Sure, they're not fancy dynamic maps like in Imperator Rome, Hearts of Iron 4 or CK3, but why could they not mix the two? I love the dynamic transitions in CK3, going from terrain all the way to a political paper map, but I would still like to be able to choose to always see a political map even when zoomed all the way down, and a terrain map when zoomed all the way up. We don't even get a diplomatic mode or top vassal map mode easily accessible from the main screen anymore, but they are more baked into the gameplay by clicking on other icons. While I love this design change, I would still like to have my row of map modes not be diminished. I'm also kinda sad that the map doesn't change according to the seasons, which takes away some of the visual flavor and immersion. For number 4, it's back to the UI, but in a different way. This time, minor but actually quite important conveniences. First of all, we're lacking a proper ledger for a quick overview of the most powerful or weak rulers. There is no way to change or select music in a music player, and there's no minimap which you can use to instantly move between different spots on the map. Finally, number 5 concerns every missing feature from CK2 which didn't make it into CK3. From joining religious or secret societies, to warring with China, to being able to play as merchant republics, there are quite a few things returning players will find to be lacking. Despite these factors, Crusader Kings III is a much bigger game than Crusader Kings II was at launch, and I'm certain Paradox will work hard to both bring all features back and to bring entirely new ones to the game. We can only wait, hope, and see. And that's it for the top 5 things Crusader Kings II does better than Crusader Kings III. If you can think of more things or disagree with me, let me know in the comments, guys, and please like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. It means a lot, and I hope to see you next time. Thanks, guys.